welcome to Community Converge, the T point where community meets marketing, product innovation, and business strategy, supported by led by community. I'm your host Akash Agrawal, and in this show, I unearth the dynamic world of communities and their profound impact on business and its growth. Stay tuned to understand how you can direct your community to impact the business and growth. Today's expert, she makes community building looks super easy. She is someone who scaled the community to 100,000 in just 6 months, and she helped the B2B business achieve a 20% ROI through their community, and she has hosted more than 200 events. Please welcome Varu Dwarak.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that introduction, Akash. You didn't actually leave anything out, to be very honest. And I'm very, very happy to be part of this podcast of yours, Community Converge, um, organized by or supported by, led by community. If I'm not wrong, right?
Right, right.
Great. Yes, I don't know if I make community building look easy, but definitely it's one of the beautiful things that an organization can have to make their business go really crazy with a cult following and all of that. Yeah, that's about it. You don't have to tell more about me because if at all they want to know more, they can always look out for me on LinkedIn. Varalakshmi Dwaraknath.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot to know about this girl. If you're, looking to learn about communities, just go to her LinkedIn profile, and there's a lot of data you can, just read what she posts. Well, Varu, I would love to just dive right in and understand the benefits and challenges of leveraging user-generated content, or as we like to call it, UGC, to drive community engagement, featuring best practices for curating and leveraging the UGC to amplify brand messaging and the foster the community participation. So let's begin it with how can businesses encourage and incentivize community members to create and share the user generated content?
Okay. So let me start with an analogy, right? Like you take Instagram as such. I know we cannot build communities on Instagram. You won't call it as communities. But when you take Instagram as a whole, it's a community in itself. And there are creators, there are someone who consume, and there are creators who are in different, genres or niche, right? And there are also like types of influencers that you see, which is micro, nano, and stuff like that. It's very much similar. Sometimes even there, like the user generated content doesn't happen involuntarily. It basically has to be triggered by some sort of either algorithm triggers it, or they basically pay someone, whether it's an influencer or something, and then they basically start hopping on to that trend and others do it. Or if not for paying purpose, they have a business, they have some sort of a goal that they would want to reach, they create something and others basically follow the train of that thought, or the challenge and stuff like that. Similarly, when it comes to community as well, it cannot be it doesn't happen where people just come forward and create content. It has to be like induced. You'll have to put sow some seeds which actually make them want to come forward and share the content. It can be like where they create content themselves, could be video or text or an image or something of that sort, or you basically ask them something and people sort of respond to it, whether it's a Slack or WhatsApp or Discord or a forum or anything of that sort. So to before I tell anything more, uh, let me just give a small clarification on what user generated content means, right? Like for any um, business creates its own content in form of a blog, video, or any format, right? And when some user actually creates content around it, it could be as simple as a testimonial. They use a product and then they come forward and say this product is amazing, and they share some features about it. And that's one of the ways where user generated content begins. It can be a testimonial, it can be something where they write a very expressive article or something where they feel that this
Right.
product has actually helped them in some way or the other, or a service of that sort, right? So these are some formats of user generated content. For some reason, it is not necessary that it has to be only a review or something of that sort. It can be more like where they come forward and share, like Sephora for that matter, right? Like people basically, Sephora is a marketplace for all multi-brand cosmetic brands, where people actually try using that product. They create that, or they come forward and ask experts that, hey, I have some skin type of this sort. How do I basically like go about choosing these products? There you can see a lot of people coming forward and saying, hey, I have some similar skin type, and I basically go for these products and this particular SPF and stuff like that. Those can also be user generated content. Ultimately, instead of a brand coming forward and telling what they have to do, when a fellow user is coming forward and telling what they have to do, makes it simple, easier for brands to basically utilize the UGC content. Incentivizing, it can be both monetary and non-monetary. Non-monetary is more like when the community is big, they themselves become an influencer. Like Sephora influencers are there. There are like many other, like Nike influencers are there. There are bigger brands where they become influencers themselves. Otherwise, where monetarily you can actually do is that you either do a barter, right? Like I send a product to you or something of that sort, you come forward and basically share about it. Otherwise, like what I was doing with Misho was predominantly like this, where people are extremely fond of something like recognition. So they were fond of these badges that we created. Like gamification played a very huge role over there, where we would incentivize, we would create Monday is Marketing Monday. So, as a reseller, what are the tips that they would like to share, come forward and share about that they did actually contributed to something like, more leads or more people inquiring about the product, or even if it's like it contributed to also selling. So, people come forward and share some sort of tips, or people actually do some sort of a video and things like that, and then they explain how that is done. So these user-generated content was basically featured on newsletter. They were also given some sort of a badge, like marketeer of the week or something of that sort. So those kind of motivated them to basically create more content, or also contribute to that particular train of thought or the questioning line of questioning and things like that. So these are some ways that we can actually do using gamification, or by basically like you have a budget for influencers within your community. When the community is bigger, then those are other way that you can actually do.
Great, great. That was actually an great insight in how brands can get more UGC. And actually, already you answered my the question that I was forming when I was hearing you, that how, like, now that we know how brands can generate UGC, how can they leverage it? But like you mentioned, they can use it in their testimonials. They can use it to represent the brand face, acknowledge the member. So that gives me another thought. Like, when it's a user generated content, brand is not creating it. So there must be some legal and ethical consideration when collecting it or using it for business purposes. So what
Yeah.
should they be? What should businesses be aware of? What should business keep in mind?
There are multiple ways, right? Like one is when they come forward and share a testimonial or something of that sort. Most of the business basically, like if it is B2B, it is very clearly known that they're going to hey, we basically ask them in a way that, hey, we are going to use your testimonial, that is going to be, it's going to be put up on website, or we are going to basically run ads with it, or whatever, right? We basically inform them prior that this is where the testimonial is going to go, this is
Right.
where we are going to use. Is it okay for us to use your name and your brand? For few businesses, they would have had this NDA clause signed for them, so it will practically not be possible to use their name and the brand name, but probably like take that testimonial and then say it's just from this particular industry, and a leader from this particular industry actually said something of that sort. So you have to be like very careful about that. B, also you cannot, like, you have to make sure that before you are going to change something, like even in the testimonial, right? Let's say that they've given a very long testimonial, they want to cut it short, or they've given a testimonial, those are all like broken words or something of that sort, or from an audio or wherever, and you are wanting to convert it into a text or something of text format or anything. you basically have to take a confirmation from them, because it should not be a case that they meant something and you're trying to say something else. And you also want to be make sure that the data that they've shared, like we grew 10x, we grew 5x, we are not actually mishandling the information of the data and things like that. So those things are, should be like consulted with the people we are actually like going to take testimonials from. If not, it is B2C or something of that sort, or D2C for that matter. They leave reviews and they know that like if you go to Amazon, or like leave Amazon, right? Like if you go to any D2C product that you see like M caffeine or something of that sort, you go there and you see people like using this sharing their reviews along with pictures and videos and things like that. So it's already in the public forum, which means that they are entitled to use those reviews to basically like bring in more people to trust this particular brand. But I think that too, they have to be very sure. I mean, they have to be careful. Like if it's a perfect screenshot of it, it's great. Again, they cannot mishandle the information that they have.
Yeah.
So I think these are very important.
Right, right. So now that we have covered how to generate UGC, how to utilize UGC, and what things to keep in mind. I'm thinking from a business perspective,
Hmm.
how can they measure the impact of UGC? Because
Right.
in communities, it's a qualitative thing, I think, and businesses, they want quantitative thing, and I don't blame them for looking for a quantitative value out of it. So how can businesses measure the impact and effectiveness of UGC?
It's very simple for B2B and B2C here, Akash. So for B2B, what works is that, like, imagine, like, before I said, right, like, someone shared tips on marketing. Shaman is like telling that this is how I sold 1 lakh. Like in a month, I earned an income of 1 lakh by basically just selling kurtas, right? So they basically give some sort of tips over there. Imagine for any B2B business or any B2B, B2C, B2C, any business who has content as one of the most important pillars of their marketing, actually like go down, spend significant amount of time in research, significant amount of time in terms of developing content. Right now, imagine that the conversations that are happening within your community. So to clarify another thing, whatever conversations that are happening within the community, like a dialogue happening with one to many, many to many, and
Right,
things like that, those are all user generated content. The
right,
users are creating and having a conversation. So imagine there is a context around it where people are sharing any tips or something of that sort, or something that helped them to get out of a situation, and you write an article from the marketing perspective. You can actually quote that particular thing, and hyperlink it with that community conversation that you have. So otherwise, let's say those tips can be like put down in your newsletter. It can be like shared as a social media post with a picture of them, basically like they someone from the customer base or from the community basically shared a tip that is going to be helpful for you. So it is significantly going to reduce the time in content development and content production for any business, whether it is B2B or B2C or D2C. And if you have to say specifically for B2C or D2C, using a user generated content that is very kick ass, like for example, like a product, right? Like imagine two things. One is like an influencer themselves coming and leaving a review, or a normal person leaving a review.
right.
Either ways, it is going to create improve their conversion rates as well, because many of us would want to buy something based on reviews, especially like you take dresses or cosmetic, anything that is related to lifestyle based purchases. I don't want to buy anything out of blue unless or otherwise I keep seeing it, or some reviews kind of like hit me. So these reviews kind of play a huge role in terms of conversion. So there, UGC content also plays a role. So one is content production time. It makes it like very easier. Plus, we all know how Google and SEO works, right? Like if your conversation is already on community and you're taking it and putting it back to your article, and then you're hyperlinking it back to your community conversation and things like that, it obviously improves your visibility. It contributes. I mean, it is not just the one thing that improves your SEO, but it also contributes to it. Like when there is a user generated content there, like a helpful content coming out of it, based on the Google update that we have. So these are the effective measures that people can take. How much they had to, like, go back to Google or other articles or chat GPT for research over how these content is actually helping them at this point of time to improve their visibility and also to decrease their time in content production and conversion rates. So these are where UGC actually helps.
So to like, if I were to put it in one or like a minimal words, it we have to, as business, we have to track the brand awareness that it's creating, right? So okay,
And another thing to put is, brand is no more what brand it claims it is. It's what users say it is. So this is going to help them, basically, build a solid awareness.
nice. That's very well put. Very well put. So okay, okay. I have one last question for you. If you could invite three fictional characters to join your community, who would they be? Why? And why from Marvel?
Why from Marvel? Is it necessary that the
No,
three
no, no.
fictional characters should be from Marvel? One character can be from Marvel, right?
Any can be like, they can be from anywhere. I
Okay.
said Marvel because I know you're a Marvel fan.
Very tough question. I cannot, like, say that I like this character from Marvel because Marvel is like my most favorite. Like all characters are my favorite. Yeah, then I think I would really like to invite Iron Man because I'm hearing rumors that he's going to be back. So I would really love to see Iron Man back in my community. I know because that there is a huge chance that if they get to know Iron Man is back and he's on my community, the chances that community can blow up is also on the higher end. And I can actually, without saying, I can actually invite other Marvel characters as well there, right? Like they would definitely join because Iron Man is there. So that's one character that I would really, really like to invite to my community. Other than that, it's very difficult. Not from Marvel, but yeah, Ranbir Kapoor from Savria.
He's not a fictional character, but yeah, we'll take him. We'll take
I mean,
him.
Ranbir Kapoor is an actor, but it's a fictional character in Savria, right?
Definitely, we'll take him.
Yeah, because for his cuteness that he had in the first movie is like undeniable. So that's one thing that I would really like to have, not definitely from Animal. So that's one. The other thing has to be Kalpana Chawla. I know it's not a fictional character. Okay, so difficult here. I'm so motivated by real characters. Who do I say?
Maybe we can take in Captain America. He gives really good speeches. He knows how to create good groups.
Groot. No, Groot. Groot, because there is no one that's going to actually like if I want to stay away from all this profanity, spam, and all this hate speech. Groot is a perfect moderator because no one can actually talk so weird to Groot. You know, so that's why Groot.
Okay, okay. I'll take those three. Thank you, Varu. Thank you for the laugh. Thank you for the all the knowledge that you shared, and thank you for joining me. It's been a pleasure to host you.
Thank you so much. Actually, it was one of the quickest podcasts that I've ever been part of. It was really nice for me to share something around UGC, which is very, very close to my heart. Thank you once again for hosting, and looking forward to other episodes of Community Converge as well.
Thank you, Varu. I'm also looking forward to publishing them all one by one. And once I want to thank you once again for being the first
Oh,
female guest on my podcast. And thank you everyone for watching. If you would like me to pick a topic that you would want an expert opinion on, share it in the comments. And if you need help with your community, you can find me on LinkedIn. This is Community Converge. I am Akash Agrawal. Until next time, cheers.